Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with KEY TV, with another segment of Good Morning Oxnard. And of course, we always have very important people, VIPs here, and somebody who I share a passion with, and that's entrepreneurism, I guess you call it that. And this is Susan Lefevre, if I put it that, and she is the director of the Young Entrepreneurs Association or Academy. I always get those A's mixed up. But you know, we are fortunate to have her here, and we're going to talk about, if you kind of basically say, getting young people into the arena of life. Is that not true?
I think that is a perfect description, yes.
Well, good. So tell us just a little bit about yourself, and how did you become this wonderful person that you are when I'm sitting in front of?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be here this morning. It's wonderful to be in downtown Oxnard. I live in Oxnard, so I'm always very, very proud of the city and everything it does. And thank you for your service through this program. My husband and I moved to Oxnard 17 years ago because he was part of starting the new Cal State University. We moved from Texas, but we both had a keen interest in education. We've made it our lifelong endeavor. So I will say that over the years here in Oxnard, I've worked with the arts, with university and business, and also in just a variety of ways. And I'm really committed, as are so many wonderful people, to making sure that our students and young people have an opportunity to just go out and conquer the world. And we hope they stay in our county. So that's sort of my motivation, a little bit of the background. I do want to say just immediately, though, that this is a program of the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce, and I have so much respect for them because, like the Oxnard Union High School District with Gabe Sumakian as the superintendent, they have really gone out and made a stand to support in as many ways as they can, linking practical experiences with students, whether they be in junior high, high school, or even for me, I teach at Cal State Channel Islands as well, those early students at the university. They've made this commitment to make sure there are programs that help them understand business, help them understand what an entrepreneur is, and really even skills of like talking in front of a camera and to be able to have a presence of confidence when they go out to the world. So that's just the beginning of where we started, but I do want to say again, so much thanks to the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce for stepping out in front, and they're really doing some wonderful things.
Well, you definitely exude that confidence in front of the camera. Does everybody agree that she does a good job of role modeling that? And the crowd goes crazy.
And the crowd goes crazy.
You know, kind of back to some basics,
Okay.
Susan. Entrepreneur. I mean, it's taken on so many different meanings, and it's. I would love for you just to give a foundational definition of what that is, and maybe it's how it's changed over the years.
Well, that is a great question. In the classes that I teach at Cal State Channel Islands, we've actually taken on what does entrepreneurism mean and what does innovation mean. And I would like to say to you that I do think that it has a different meaning to different people. Certainly there are people who are really hardcore entrepreneurs and go create wonderful businesses, like we think of Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm. But really there's a practical side to entrepreneurism, which is coming out of, I think, the ups and downs of the economic environment that we've all lived through during the last 10 or so years. So entrepreneurism for us really involves three things. It involves a certain level of risk. Mm-hmm. It involves, for us with students, being able to know how to start businesses. And the third one is to think creatively and hopefully at some point out of the box. And when you put those three together, I believe that you're talking about the entrepreneurial spirit that really a lot of young people, even very young, our youngest student is 11 years old. Wow. So yeah, they have that, they know they've got to ride the ups and downs of the economic environment because they've seen their parents. But besides that, they're just creative people. And they like the fact that if they have their own business, whether it has ups or downs within it, that they have a little more control over their lives. Mm-hmm. So for us, entrepreneurism is again taking risk, starting your own business or putting money into an idea, or even talking about an idea is a huge risk. You have to have a certain amount of skills to build your business, and there are quite a few of those. and it's a type of thinking. And I think some people start off very young having entrepreneurial, out-of-the-box thinking, but most of us, we can train ourselves to think more that way. And it not only helps our students, I think, ensure a lot more control over their lives in the future, but I really think it helps our environment because we're using some really important skills that we develop in those students. I don't know if that helps or
No,
not.
I was perfect and asked a follow-up.
Great.
They say there's no such thing as a stupid question, but how you feel stupid asking it. But I want to ask, is there a difference between somebody who calls himself starting a business and being an entrepreneur? You talk about the spirit. Can you kind of clarify the difference for you? Where do they meet? Is everybody who starts a business an entrepreneur?
Well, that is an excellent question, and it's
Oh, stop, please, stop.
No, you're so good.
Oh, you're so good.
But why it is a good question is we have been discussing it, as I said, in all of the classes I've had, and our culture has changed a lot during the last 10 years, particularly in business. So I think at one point we might not have seen a business person strictly as an entrepreneur. But I think now they do melt together a little bit. But perhaps the difference is perhaps the level of risk and perhaps the level of skill and the dedication and the drive and the creativeness that entrepreneurs have. You know, sometimes you can have a wonderful business, perhaps a family business, and it does just really well. But you might not have the drive to make that business larger or to experiment with a creative idea or perhaps take a risk by expanding your businesses. So yes, a lot of business owners, I believe, have entrepreneurialism in terms of some skills, but they may not have that drive to move beyond the boundaries and experiment with new ideas. So while they're very close, and I'm sure people would have some different ideas about this as well, I think they differ just enough to make the entrepreneur the one that may actually be changing the environments that we're in. I don't know if that's
That's
helpful.
a great answer. Since you're saying I have great questions, that is a great answer. But you know, I want to say one of the things that kind of sparks my education is somebody who starts the business may not know, and you say surviving the up and down at times, learning how to possibly survive the valleys might be considered that spirit of entrepreneur. Can you build on that?
Absolutely. Also, I think a person who has that entrepreneurial aspect to their character may even have the courage to say, this business is not going to work. I've learned as much as I can from it. I need to professionally move out of that and take then those experiences and perhaps even some of the great people that you've developed in that business and move them somewhere else. So it is riding possibly the ups and downs within the business that you have, but it could possibly be seeing a little long term and saying this business is not going to go forward through the years and I'm going to have to start another one. So it's both the short term and the long term that I think we're trying to teach our students to ride those ups and downs of the economic environment.
Do I need to call you Dr. Susan, a PhD, because you're speaking like a professor?
I am a professor, but I'm not a
Well,
PhD.
doctor though, so okay,
No,
we'll
no.
just play on it. But
Okay.
you know, it's in corporate America, there is a spirit that will say, now, you need to work this job like you own it yourself. Is this something in the spirit of entrepreneur that could actually be used if you work for somebody else too? We know there's going to be a good percentage of students.
Absolutely,
Do you
absolutely.
think that would help their chances at a position if they had that spirit?
In terms of folks going out in the world and having jobs, we, especially at the university, but with my students that are in junior high, we also approach it this way. Most people who will have their own business at some point have worked for someone else. And so there's two sides to that question.
Okay.
One are what skills do you get from that to help you create your business? And the other one is your responsibility as a business person and an entrepreneur is to make sure wherever you work is an experience that you bring something back to that table.
Okay.
And that's what we work with even our very young students. So when you work for someone else, that is so incredibly invaluable on so many levels. And one of them is, we used to call these soft skills. The new word now is employability skills. And that is showing up for work on time, that's dressing appropriate, that's knowing how to speak to your boss in a way that supports the company or the business you're with, how to work with customers. And for our generation, we grew up really knowing a lot of that, I think, early on. For the new generation, they have to work a little because they have so many distractions.
Interesting.
So they need to know those employability skills. And if you're open to it, I believe that a lot of employers really want to teach young people things, whether it stays in their business or it moves away. So the two sides of that coin is, yes, all those things build strong employability skills and skills for the future, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. And the other side of it is that as an entrepreneur, you want to see how your skills in whatever situation you're in helps the organization or business you're in.
And that's interesting. It's a good question. A good answer.
Thank you.
You know, I want to really get into two things. And number one is, what types of people are you trying to connect with in this county? You know how they say with the 1 + 1 = 3. Who is it, or some of the other people maybe you've already connected with, or who you'd like to connect with that you'd like to communicate to us?
Oh, great. In terms beyond the student base?
Besides the student base,
Okay.
who do you think is going to be a great person to have on the roster?
Okay.
Organization-wise or person-wise?
We look at, I think, two different areas of that, if you will. One is the very strong, highly skilled individuals that we can counteract with. And of course, Bob Allen with Katie.
Who? No, just kidding.
I know, who is that guy? But he's been so helpful because he comes in and helps, not only does he, being an entrepreneur himself, gives information and feedback to the students, but he also brings in the imagery and how to be in front of a camera, which is very important. So other individuals, of course, people like Robert Cabral, who is a doctor, is a PhD. He's a professor of accounting at Oxnard College and had a long career in banking. He, with Dr. Cynthia Herrera at the Oxnard College in the STEM program, those are individuals that help us. We are looking for more individuals. We had many people come in and be mentors with our students. We had them come in for about 6 weeks for a couple of hours once a week with our students. So we're looking for people that either are entrepreneurs, people who speak well, know how to communicate like yourself, people that can bring a different perspective to the students. And one of the things I like to emphasize is I love to have different age grades of people. One of the engineers who came to visit us from Procter & Gamble was 22 years old. He was a brand new engineer, and those students loved hearing about his experiences. He shared with them his experience of owning a small painting company to help him getting through UCLA. So they saw both the engineer, but also the young entrepreneur. So that was wonderful. We also like to have folks who have spent years building different businesses. We had Mel Schiller, for example, come in and speak about all of his experiences. So individuals enrich everything we do. But we also like to connect with organizations, businesses, and institutions. Umpqua Bank, for example, is one of our supporters in some of the programs we do. Bill Cordero, Dr. Bill Cordero at Cal State Channel Islands with Martin V. Smith, they are supporting us in our program.
Excellent.
The STEM program at Oxnard College. But businesses, we love it when Procter & Gamble offers to have engineers come and speak to our students. So businesses of all sizes, small businesses are extremely important. So not only those individuals coming in, but allowing us to go visit them is just so pivotal for those students. So big organizations, and medium-sized, small businesses, but also those individuals that just want to come in on their own are very important to our process. This is a community endeavor. We're highly associated with Oxnard College, we're highly associated with Union High School District, with the Chamber. Almost all of our students come from Oxnard. We have one student that does not, but his mother works here. So this, to make this successful, and I believe it has been, it's got to be a community effort.
I totally agree, and you did a nice job of actually articulating the elements to people, and I think we already mentioned, I called the great coach Gmo Susan Superintendent of Oxnard Union High School District. And one last question,
Sure.
I'm getting this right now, which I mean is roll it over. I'm going to say it close, but
I got the code,
yeah,
yes.
the code, but you mentioned some people, but tell us about this wonderful husband that you work in conjunction with. My gosh, how wonderful it is that you could be married to somebody who you share a passion. So let's give a shout out to him.
Well, I should have said this. My husband passed away 2 years ago.
Okay.
But no, I do want to give a shout out because he was so important in education. And I think when you have, whether it's your husband,
Right.
your wife, sometimes we have a father or a mother, someone in our sphere that really dedicates themselves to something like education or to young people. Their legacy goes on and on and on. And I would like to be that person for the students in my life. And I meet so many people that are like that. Bob Allen, Robert Cabral, Cynthia Herrera. I mean, we could go through so many people, Gaze Sumakian. So what I learned from my wonderful husband, Steve Lefevre, is that we can make a difference by our actions, our integrity, and our commitment. And students really benefit, and when they benefit, our community benefits. So I'm really glad that I had a great mentor, but I hope that I'm a mentor to other people as well.
So ordained as you are, Susan. What a
Thank you so
wonderful
much.
conversation. This is Peter Godinez with Susan Lefevre, an actual master of entrepreneurial spirits. And this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador for KDY TV. Until next time.